And welcome back to this series on Unveiling the Secrets to. And right now, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Laura-Doe Harris, who is a sexpert and an award-winning somatic sex educator, comedienne, and singer-songwriter. And in 2008, Laura-Doe founded the University and has presented the University curriculum in Australia, Bali, USA, and the UK. And I had the absolute pleasure of meeting Laura-Doe back in, oh gosh, it must have been 2010, something like that, when I first undertook my initial tantric practitioner training in Byron Bay. And I've never forgotten that presentation, and I've never forgotten the props that she brought with her. But enough of me. I'm going to hand over to Laura-Doe. Laura-Doe, welcome. Okay, let me start again. Laura-Doe, thank you so much and welcome as we discuss today the anatomy of female pleasure.
Thank you so much, Noelle. That's really a lovely introduction. I appreciate that. And I too remember that training. I think I arrived in my academics outfit, maybe.
Yes, you did. Yes.
Was I not?
You did. Yes. It was very memorable.
Yes. And I probably sang a song.
You did.
Yeah.
It was just wonderful. I remember it clearly. That's the impact that you made. But also, not only do I remember your presentation and what you were talking about, I remember your vulva puppets, and I'd never ever seen anything like that before.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm going to hand over to you, and I'm going to say, Laura-Doe, the floor is yours. Please educate the masses on the anatomy of female pleasure.
Thank you. Well, a very important topic, I must say, and one that I've been passionate about for many years. And it came this deep desire to educate both vulva owners and vulva lovers about the anatomy of pleasure within the vulva owner's body. Came from my own interest and research, and it was sparked by a wonderful book by a lady called Sherry Winston, which you may be familiar with. And I read this book maybe 2 or 3 years prior to when I met you, Noelle. And I thought to myself, oh my God, this is the missing information that I didn't know. And I've been fascinated by this topic for many decades, and a lot of people don't know. We're not provided with the amazing information about this orchestra of arousal structures that we have with our pelvis. Most people, and somebody in one of my workshops said, oh my God, I've just been playing one instrument and actually there is a whole orchestra there. So let's run through some of the parts of this wonderful orchestra.
Absolutely. You know, before you start, can I just say, I work with quite a few clients and couples in particular, and I have this, and whenever I pull this out, I can guarantee you 90% of my clients have no idea what this is, no idea what it is. And they're absolutely gobsmacked when I tell them what this is, but I'm not going to steal your thunder. I want you to explain the anatomy and what that is.
Excellent.
Back to you.
So part of the issue is that there was no real reason to deal with female arousal anatomy because who cared? Most of the scientists were not female. And in fact, a lot of what we discovered about the clitoris, which most people are aware of, but not the full extent of it, is due to a female urologist, an Australian, actually, Dr. I think she's now Professor Helen O'Connell. And she he showed through MRI imaging the full structures of the clitoris.
Yeah.
But let's back up a bit.
Yeah.
So here's one of my Vulvalicious cushions. And I think most people are aware that there is a pleasure spot round about there. We start with a lot of lack of awareness, even about that well-known area, because a lot of vulva lovers tend to think the way to give a vulva owner pleasure is to go straight for the clitoris.
Yeah. And rub and rub and rub, yeah.
Rub and rub and
yeah.
rub.
And why hasn't she come yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I always like to stress is that just like our faces are not the same, in fact, every face is unique, so are our genitals. So every vulva is different, and that is very fine and beautiful. And one of the areas that differs, one of the many areas that differs, is the size and length of the clitoral hood. So there is a hood over the clitoris. If I pull back that hood, then we'll just sort of see the clitoris peeking out.
Yeah.
But for some women, that hood is very short, and that clitoral head is always exposed. These are the women you do not want to go straight for the clitoris and rub, because that is 8,000 nerve endings worth of sensation. And if it's exposed, it's super sensitive.
Yeah.
Some women have a clitoral hood that is so long that you will never expose the tip of the clitoris, and they tend to really enjoy a good bit of rubbing and work with the clitoral hood, almost like a kind of massage of the clitoris. Another thing that's all very different is how long the clitoral shaft is. It can be very tiny, it can be really long. So all of these are wonderfully normal. But the fun doesn't stop there. We've got the shaft, which is the most sensitive, the tip, which is the most sensitive area, the shaft, which goes back to the pubic bone. And then we have two legs that come all the way around underneath the outer labia, right down to the vaginal opening. There they are.
Yeah.
Now, that's the outer legs or crura of the clitoris. And look, to be honest, you don't want to go digging around in the vulva going, oh, where's the legs of the clitoris? That's not part of the program particularly. And you may, as a vulva owner, never really feel those legs. But the great thing about the clitoris is it's made of erectile tissue. Lots of people think that penis owners have the monopoly on erectile tissue.
Yeah.
So the vulva owner has, in some cases, just as much erectile tissue, but it's more cleverly disguised. It is within the internal to the vulva. And then, so there's a particular type of erectile tissue, which is the clitoral body. And then in your image, in your little structure there that you had, Noelle, there is a second part of the clitoris, which I actually call something different. I call it the vestibular bulbs. And that internal to the legs that come down the outside, which are thinner, and the vestibular bulbs are fatter. And they can definitely be massaged and engaged and engorged. And that's a really pleasurable possibility, one of the many pleasurable possibilities. They're also made of erectile tissue. It's a slightly different type of tissue. Technically, it's corpus, I think it's cavernosum as opposed to spongiosum, but I may have got that the wrong way around. And all of those structures that make up what some people call the whole of the clitoris, which I call the clitoral body and the vestibular bulbs, they're all made of erectile tissue.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
We also have some erectile tissue at the base of the entrance to the vagina. It's called the perineal sponge, and it is also capable of arousal and engorgement. Now, the great thing about engorgement is it means more blood is flowing to the area and more sensation is available. So this is this sits between the entrance to the vagina and the entrance to the anus, which would be about here on my little cushion. And that's called the perineal sponge. And that is another quite separate area that is potentially pleasurable. We can also access the vestibular bulbs internally through the vagina. So sometimes there's really nice sensations to be had internally to the left and the right of the entrance of the vagina, and further back as well. And then we've got one more beauty, which is a cylinder of erectile tissue, which sits around the urethra. And that starts to take us into exploring the mysterious G-spot.
G-spot.
Now, I call these 4 parts of erectile tissue the string quartet of arousal, because they have an energetic or a sensation about them which is quite highly pitched, a bit like strings. And they are definitely part of the orchestra. But when we come to the G spot, or I prefer to call it the G ridge, we're there's a different quality, I feel, of arousal sensation in the G ridge. And that's because it's not just the erectile tissue, it also has these prostatic glands and ducts. And the result of G ridge stimulation can be an ejaculatory release. And this is the great myth of squirting or gushing. Now, that is not always created through G ridge stimulation, but it's a good starting point for that sort of release. It's also, I think, really useful not to kind of have ejaculation as a goal, because that often means you won't get there. Because really, with all of our arousal, it's about being present with the sensation in the moment. That's where the pleasure is. It's not a goal-oriented activity. Pleasure is a being activity, a feeling, a sensing activity. So I talk about all of these structures, and there are a few more, in order to kind of give people a bit of a map of what's happening, but not in order to make it a treasure hunt to get to find the specific goal or structure. And the G ridge is amazing. I call it a ridge because the actual structure is internal, and it has a sort of, in many vulva owners, it has a kind of ribbed feeling to it when you feel it on the inside. But in some vulva owners, it's not ribbed. So again, we're all different.
Yeah.
And that erectile tissue of the cylinder that goes around the urethra, that's why I call it a ridge, because it is like the half of a cylinder that you are feeling through the top wall of the vagina.
Mm.
And I have you may when we're interested, let's not be trying to, when we're interested in exploring the G-ridge sensation, there's this lovely kind of, it's called the come hither stroke, that people enjoy, that feels really good. And there'll be nothing to come hither on unless a vulva owner is already engorged, already turned on. And in fact, if you start doing this come hither stroke on a vulva in a vagina that isn't already turned on, it's going to feel annoying.
It's annoying.
Going to feel like I need to pee, because it's involved. You're basically going straight to the urethra. And that's a word of caution, is that often the feeling of pleasure around the G-ridge does also feel a bit like, oops, I think I need to pee. And it's quite an art to be able to relax with that. I've had lots of clients who say, oh, look, everything's going so well, I'm feeling really turned on, and then I just feel like, oh, I need to pee. And then I get up and I go and pee, and sometimes it takes quite a while, because actually that engorgeable tissue has possibly closed around the urethra, which is what it's designed to do. It's actually designed to stop foreign bodies, bacteria, going up through the urethra into the bladder and possibly the kidney. So it's a very special protective mechanism. But the important thing to understand out of that is that feeling that you need to pee may be actually an indication that you are on the route to some sort of ejaculatory experience. So as long as you're prepared, as long as your partner is prepared, hopefully there might be towels on the bed or available. Then keep going and see what the experience is.
So that was a lot of information. That was beautiful information. I want to get down to the practicalities now. So we have a basic understanding of the yoni and the vulva. Get down, when I'm working with couples on how to reconnect through touch, step number one, when it comes time to touch her, I'll give her a consciousness, because I believe they have a consciousness and a mind of their own. I call it the gateway to the universe. Anyway, for me, step number one for this couple is the man just puts his hand, just connects, softly connects. There's no rubbing, there's no moving, connect. And you'll feel a change in the female as well. She'll soften up and she'll start to relax into it. Because what I'm trying to do is hopefully start the reprogramming of the brain from porn to reality. So for you, let's get down to practicalities now. Pretend I'm a first-time client. Pretend I go at my clitoris with a vibrator as hard as I can, as fast as I can. Talk me through, what do I need to do to connect back to the softness, the sensuality that is my yoni?
What I often suggest is a process that we call genital mapping, which is a process of being very curious and looking at this extraordinary terrain and asking the question, what does a particular pressure in a particular place or a particular stroke in a particular place, what does it feel like? Because we have got into that very fast food mentality of, okay, I just want the orgasm and I want it now, and this is how I'm going to get it. But what I'm interested in is, yes, well, what does it feel like? What does it feel like if I explore this area of my vulva? And what does it feel like? What does it feel like if I just put my fingers there? What does it feel like if I press a little harder? What does it feel like if I do a gentle circle? And I do a process, I call it online genital mapping, where nobody's genitals are exposed on camera, and the client is in their own space, in their own comfortable place, but I'm guiding them through these various different places with the invitation to breathe, to relax, and to be really curious. What does this feel like? And then we find out, oh gosh, well, that was a bit nothing, that wasn't particularly interesting. Oh, but here there was this yummy warm feeling when I did a circular motion. Or maybe not, everyone again is different. I would explore the outer labia, and then I'd be exploring the clitoris, and again gently and then firmer. I'd be exploring internal to the labia, and I might be suggesting some particular strokes to try, but mainly I'll be letting the client be guided by their own intuition. It's like, well, where do your fingers feel like they want to go next? Let's explore that. And they'll describe where they're going. And does it feel like you want a soft pressure or a hard pressure there? And that can continue to internal mapping as well. What happens at the upper wall of the vagina, or what happens at the side? So that's one of the processes that I might work with someone using.
And also what I find is really, and this is what I find with every client I've worked with, is that they've been married forever, and the feedback from either the male or the female is, well, I shouldn't have to tell her, she should know. Or I shouldn't have to tell him, he should know by now. Communication, isn't it? It's about being comfortable in that space to communicate. Go harder, go softer. Do you know what I mean?
And I think the other part of that misconception is that there is a formula, there is a way, and there are strategies and specifics that are always going to work. My experience with myself, and certainly most of the people I speak to, is that on one day, one thing will feel delicious. But tomorrow, that same thing may not feel good at all. And something completely different is what I need. So that sort of formulaic, the desire for a formula, which can be, is one of the strengths of the masculine, often, to kind of put things in a box and clarify, that isn't going to work with the female body. And actually probably doesn't work with the male body either.
That's right. Because there is no formula, there is no, well, try ABC and you will get the result. There's no such thing. I encourage open communication. I think that with my clients, and a lot are coming to memory, a lot are coming to mind right now, that's their biggest hurdle to begin with, is how do I, without him laughing at me or without her making me feel emasculated, how do I communicate my needs and wants? And it could be just as simple as go slower. Simple as that. That for me, that's one of the biggest hurdles for them to overcome, is communicate. What does it feel like? breathe
Yeah.
into it. What does that feel like? Yeah. Yeah, so
Mm.
there's so much more to this. I mean, we haven't even touched on the female orgasm.
Absolutely not. And
So
I don't,
much to talk about there.
yes.
Yeah,
And there's more parts to the arousal structures
yeah,
that we haven't spoken of.
yeah,
Um, and there's so much around.
yeah.
It's not, I think, even Noelle, it's not even communicating what you want is a very important
Mm,
step, and learning how to do that comfortable
mm,
is important. But actually, there's a step back from that, is
mm.
recognizing what you want.
Yes.
Actually recognizing what you want. And my suggestion is that self-exploration is
Mm,
the key to finding that. Because
mm.
if you've never tried something, you can't know whether you want it or
That's
not.
right. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. That's right.
Yes,
Wow. And
yes,
so that really flies in the face of so much religious teaching, is that if you masturbate, you go, there's a special place in hell for you. Yeah. So again, working with, it's so multifaceted working with clients. It really is. It's never the one presenting problem, is it?
yes. No, and I think mostly I like, I mean, I'm happy to work with whoever comes along, but I like
Mm,
working with people who are interested in what else is there, what
mm,
more is
mm,
there. How
mm,
can I find more pleasure? Because we have these incredible bodies,
mm,
these little earth temples that we
mm,
are gifted with,
mm.
that have such capacity for pleasure. And
Totally.
if we
Yeah.
learn that, we have an almost never-ending free
Mm,
source of energy.
mm. Oh,
Because
agreed. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sexual energy,
Yeah.
that pleasure, even if it's not having sex with a partner,
Mm,
it, running our sexual energy is like turning the engine over,
yeah.
and it invigorates and enlivens and beautifies us.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Sorry, I will. I'll put my hand up for that.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh
yeah.
look, I agree with you 100%. Like with my advanced clients that I have, I show them how to use their sexual energy to go
Mm,
beyond the physical
mm,
into the realms of manifestation,
yes,
and how to use sexual energy to manifest your desires, because that's what it is. It's creative. It's a
yes.
creative force. It's a creative energy.
Mm.
And can I just say also, this clitoris that we've been blessed with, its only purpose is, Laura-Doe,
Pleasure.
it's its only purpose.
That,
That's
and
it.
it's the only structure in the
Yeah.
human body whose only purpose is
Yes,
pleasure.
that's it. And just because I believe that the vibration of the universe is pleasure.
Mm,
So you get
mm,
into that flow, you get into that space, and it's so creative and so liberating and so expansive. So
yeah.
I I
Yeah.
really need to bring you back so that we can
Okay.
talk about female orgasm, that elusive female orgasm, because there's so much to that.
So let's do that.
Mm,
Will be that will be fun. And I just want to put a teaser into that, is
okay.
that these days I prefer to talk about orgasmicity
Oh,
rather
okay.
than orgasm, because
Mm,
orgasm puts it into that box again,
mm.
whereas orgasmicity is the state of being orgasmic, and
Oh,
that is how I feel we
oh.
have a lot of access
Mm.
to in the
Oh,
female body.
awesome. Oh, I just
Yeah,
felt tingles down there.
there you go. You're an
Oh,
orgasmic being.
oh, this is awesome. This is, oh, can I just share, and this is might be a bit off topic, but it really isn't. I hope it's okay to share. I went through menopause like 10 years ago. And everyone, my friends, the doctors, everyone was saying to me, oh, you know, you're going to have hot flushes and you're going to dry up and everything's just going to come to a standstill. And I said, no, that's not my belief. My belief is I'm going to get better and better and better. And you know what? And I'm not going to go into too much detail. Never been juicier. Sorry, my children, for this. Never been juicier, never been more sexual, never been more orgasmic. Never in my life have I experienced it, and it is beautiful. And I want to teach other women how to get there as well. Don't believe what the world says to you about your body and what it can do for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am totally there with you. I'm about to run a workshop at a festival that's coming up called Older, Wiser, Sexier. And I truly believe that as we get older and wiser, we do. My experience is I feel sexier now than I ever have.
We have the confidence. There's something that happens when you take on that crone energy. It is delicious. That's my favorite word. It's just delicious.
Yes.
So I've also got a program that I'm putting the finishing touches to, and I've spoken to you about this, is Sex Over 60. And I'm just working with someone now to help me launch it with the correct terminology so I don't get kicked off all the platforms, but Sex Over 60.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the best. Literally, it's got better every decade. I have to say.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for Sex Over 70 because on the current trajectory, it's going to be
so
mind-boggling.
Yeah. Laura-Doe, do you have any final words for us?
Enjoy yourself by bringing yourself into the present moment and feeling for whatever is the most pleasurable thing in your body or your environment. And if you have access to the internet, then you must have if you're watching this, then go visit my website at yoni.com and you will see all the different things that I'm busy with and cushions this.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to leave a link to all your socials and where people can find you and what you're up next, because this needs to get out there so much more, so much more. I want to see a ripple effect into society of this.
Yes, I'm with you there. We can ride that wave together now.
Oh, the orgasmic wave.
Yeah, exactly.
Laura-Doe, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Please come back. Let's talk about female orgasm, or as you said it, what was your terminology?
Orgasmicity.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.